from Agassi. And Sampras, you know, he hits the ball so hard off the ground, and Agassi just keeps on coming back. 18 unforced errors, made 1 or 2 there in the 4th set breaker, which probably cost him. But just phenomenal tennis.
We could have probably shown you the whole match as far as our analysis was concerned, but we picked out a few moments for you. Sampras' pickups, Annabelle, were outstanding.
Well, he's got one of the best pickups in the game. I mean, he's so razor sharp up in that area of the net. But I mean, he never missed today. It was just as if everything was just zinging off his racket, seeing the ball so large and just unbelievably sharp. And you just look at both guys' faces out there. The intensity in their eyes was something to see. It really was.
And good feel as well for a big man. Sampras wouldn't have won that many Wimbledon titles if he didn't have that type of volley. He's been doing a lot of training, Sampras. He looks in great shape.
He is in good shape. His trainer, Brett Stephen, nickname, they call him the Moose on tour, travelled with Wayne and Byron Black, so I know him pretty well. And he's been working really hard on the track and in the gym, and it's paying off. I mean, this is meant to be his weakness.
Yeah,
his backhand. And there were a number of times, numerous shots where he just hit backhand winners.
I was just going to say, I don't think I've ever seen Sampras off the ground this consistent and this solid. Well, certainly not this year. I mean,
definitely not this year. He hasn't done that for at least a year, maybe a year and a half. I've seen him play. You know, he's got one of the best forehands in the game when it's on, but it can go walkabout sometimes. It's a major weapon. But like Annabelle says, this year he just hasn't produced the kind of tennis he's producing this week.
Crucial, Annabelle, for Agassi to take the half chances when they came, and probably 95% of the time he did that.
Oh, I mean, again, he just, you know, at this level, it's about taking those half chances, and you don't get too many against a guy like Pete Sampras with a serve like this. And my goodness, everything had to be that close to the lines every single time, and it was consistent throughout the entire match.
We slowed that one down for you because it was so quick, real time. And here's another one. Some of the baseline exchanges, the power and the depth that both men were achieving. And Sampras wasn't coming in on any junk at all last night at all. There again, good length. And that's a half volley ripped cross-court pass.
Well, he does, you know, he does have a great half volley groundies, if you call it. I've never heard of that shot, but he hits a lot of half volleys, groundies. He doesn't move back and then forward. He just stays his ground and just rips it, gets down low. And there you saw, I mean, that wasn't a bad approach at all. Sampras had some good depth on that, and Agassi just ripped it by him.
Sampras, Neil, said 1 or 2 points in his press conference. We picked out 1 point we felt was fairly crucial. 5-6, 30 all, second set tiebreak.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But, you know, you give this point to Agassi, and you know, maybe changes the whole course of the match. And but you know, that's the champions that both these guys are. They come up with the goods time and time again when it's needed.
And that pass from Agassi clipped the top of the net. You see how to quickly adjust.
Yeah, great adjustment there.
I mean, frightening, absolutely frightening. Pure class right the way through from both men. Again, we'll highlight Sampras because he was the guy that came out with the W. But
oh, I mean, as I said before, it's so difficult to use words to describe the quality of the tennis in this match. I mean, it's just astounding. And, you know, these guys, they just loved it. They lapped up the adrenaline, the crowd, the energy. I mean, everything was flowing. And again, just the intensity levels that they brought to the court. Fire, both of them. It was scary tennis. I enjoyed every single second of it, as did that crowd. And I think both of them did as well.
He does have a point to prove, Sampras, Neil, regardless of
whether
he says.
I mean, a lot of the press and media have written him off pretty much. When are you going to retire? You know, a lot of people have said he should have retired at the top, and now he's past his best. But on these last 2 performances, beating Rafter and beating Agassi, now, if he can sustain this level of tennis, there's only one guy I think that can beat him, and he's probably on his way back to Las Vegas with Steffi.
OK, fair enough. Agassi under pressure, a couple more points that we felt were crucial in the studio. 15-40, first game of the 4th set. And again, Sampras not giving many cheap points. He's asking him to come up with the goods all the time.
Well, that passing shot gave him no angle, and Agassi just comes up, rips it by him. And there again, 30-40, big point. pressure just doesn't seem to get to these guys.
Yeah, I sense, Annabelle, from reading their press comments afterwards, that even though Agassi lost, he took a tremendous amount of pride being involved in that type of match.
Yeah, I mean, he always speaks so well after matches, and they had such a warm handshake at the end of the match, didn't they? But I think both of them felt that. I think they love being a part of history. I think they love being out on that big stage like that. And I think, as Agassi said at the end there, it was a real pleasure being a part of that, and people will talk about that match. And the level, we've never seen anything like it. It was quite magnificent.
I think the grin said it all from Pete Sampras at the end of the match. This is match point. Well, shame to end it on an error, really, but Sampras turning around to his corner and look at that grin. That said it all. And how nice to see that between those two players after they've been involved in such a tense battle. I think Agassi said there to Sampras, I hope you go on and win it. Well,
Agassi, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the most gracious losers in the game. He's always got a good thing to say to his opponent if he gets beaten. And, you know, that's a great quality of his, whereas there's one or two players that, you know, don't live up to that standard.
And you're not going to name them?
No, not today.
OK, all right, thanks very much. OK, so Sampras through to the semis, where if you were watching yesterday, Marat Safin had already booked his place with a straight sets win of Argentine Mariano Zavaleta to set up a repeat of last year's final. And here is the semi-final draw. Safin, Sampras, Hewitt-Roddick is being played under lights. No surprise there. Roddick has played 4 of his 5 matches now under the lights. Kirtan Kafelnikov will have that for you live at around about 7 o'clock tonight. OK, let's look forward to Safin and Sampras on Saturday afternoon, Neil. We mentioned yesterday that Safin probably won't like having 2 days off. Whereas I'd imagine Sampras probably will, to regroup after all the nervous energy he would have expended last night.
Yeah, well, like we said with Marat Safin yesterday, he would have got to bed late, wouldn't have had a good night's sleep. So today's pretty much a write-off, and then tomorrow he can get out there on the practice courts, get back to work. I think with Safin, it's going to be a different ball game. I think he hits the ball flatter than Andre Agassi, so the ball gets to his opponent quicker. And he's also got a huge serve, which people, you know, don't really talk about. And he did beat Pete Sampras in last year's final, so it's going to be a great matchup. And Sampras is going to have to produce and sustain that same level that he's been in the last 2 matches to win this one.
OK, well, yesterday we gave you our predictions of the semi-final lineup in the studio. Our backroom staff rather cheekily put this together to show us who was right and who was wrong. And I'm afraid to say, Annabelle, that there's a big red cross just appeared on Andre Agassi for you.
You are rotten.
Neil and I are still crossless at the moment. Of course, Kirtan Kafelnikov coming up later on today, and Roddick against Hewitt in the evening. But Agassi, no more from Annabelle Croft there. So would you expect, I mean, obviously the last time they played in a Grand Slam was the final last year at the US Open, Annabelle, where really Safin duffed him up. Sampras, big time.
It was a shocker, wasn't it? I mean, nobody would have predicted that Marat Safin in his first Grand Slam final could produce the kind of tennis that he came up with, and it was a complete stunned Pete Sampras at the end. I mean, you talk about experience walking into the final, and you'd have to have gone with Pete Sampras. He had everything going for him, but Safin produced something special, and that's why he's the classy player that he is. I would never, ever have predicted that Marat Safin would still be in the tournament at this stage anyway. I mean, from the tennis that he's shown this year and the lack of commitment going through most of the tournaments around the world, who would ever have predicted that he could walk into the US Open? But obviously pride has come into it. I do feel as if the pressure is definitely going to be on Safin actually going into the match, because he's the guy defending. He's got to try and produce the same quality tennis that he produced last year in the final, and up against the guy now, Pete Sampras, who is so on fire and coming through that tougher section of the draw. He's got a lot on his plate. And even coming through against Zabaleta yesterday, I just felt that weak mind that we always talk about in Safin, where he just seems to go walkabout, it was grumbling around in there, and you felt that if things didn't really go his way early on, you know, the head was going to start dropping. So I think he's up against it against Sampras.
I just had to pick you up on one very small point. There was one man that put Safin ahead of Sampras last year, and he's next door to you. Remember that? Picked
Do
him at
I
the beginning
remember?
of the
Picked him on
championship.
Monday. I
Picked
can
him on
remember.
Monday.
How did you do that?
Well, he had a great lead-up. I mean, he won the Canadian Open, and he had a great year. I must confess that I probably was a little lucky, but I must confess that Annabelle and I have both written off Safin to win the championships. From the, I think we did that the first day of this tournament. So we hope in well, I'm hoping Annabelle's in a no-win situation.
I am in a no-win
She's written off sampras and Safin. So I've only written off Safin. So I'm hoping sampras comes through.
Okay, thanks for the moment. Right, time for us to take a few commercials. When we come back, Jennifer Capriati will bid to make it through to the US Open semi-finals for the first time since 1991. Her opponent, Amelie Mauresmo. Won that many Wimbledon titles if he didn't have that type of volley. He's been doing a lot of training, Sampras. He looks in great shape.
He is in good shape. His trainer, Brett Stephen, nickname, they call him the Moose on tour, travelled with Wayne and Byron Black, so I know him pretty well. And he's been working really hard on the track and in the gym, and it's paying off. I mean, he's got one of the best forehands in the game when it's on, but it can go walkabout sometimes. It's a major weapon, but like Annabelle says, this year he just hasn't produced the kind of tennis he's producing this week.
Crucial, Annabelle, for Agassi to take the half chances when they came, and probably 95% of the time he did that.
Oh, I mean, again, he just, you know, at this level, it's about taking those half chances, and you don't get too many again.
From Agassi, and Sampras, you know, he hits the ball so hard off the ground, and Agassi just keeps on coming back. 18 unforced errors, made 1 or 2 there in the 4-set breaker, which probably cost him. But just phenomenal tennis.
We could have probably shown you the whole match as far as our analysis was concerned, but we picked out a few moments for you. Sampras' pickups, Annabelle, were outstanding.
Well, he's got one of the best pickups in the game. I mean, he's so razor sharp up in that area of the net. But I mean, he never missed today. It was just as if everything was just zinging off his racket, seeing the ball so large and just unbelievably sharp. And you just look at both guys' faces out there. The intensity in their eyes was something to see. It really was.
And good feel as well for a big man, Sampras, wouldn't it?
He's meant to be his weakness.
Yeah,
He's backhand. And there were a number of times, numerous shots where he just hit backhand winners.
I was just going to say, I don't think I've ever seen Sampras off the ground this consistent and this solid. Well, certainly not this year. I mean,
definitely not this year. He hasn't done that for at least a year, maybe a year and a half. I've seen him play. You know,